Well, listen, I think the ideal is that parties work together. And certainly there have been other moments where we've seen deep partisan divides, but I do think we are in a unique moment. Pew just did a study not very long ago showing that Americans of different parties, of different ideologies, do see themselves as different, don't see themselves as having anything in common, and in fact, do not speak to each other. And I think that's where we saw on display this week, where you have the Republican Party cannibalizing their own speaker, in part because of this bipartisanship that was displayed in this sort of Hail Mary to keep the government open. So I think it's not irretrievably broken. But I do think that there has to be, I think, a rediscovery of what that middle ground can be and what does bipartisanship means. I mean, by definition, it means sometimes you get what you want and sometimes I get what I want. I mean, that's pluralism at its finest. And if we can't agree to do that, then the whole project is really, all for naught if we're not going to say, this might not be the fight that I can have right now, but maybe on this thing we can agree to disagree and figure out something that we can do, something that we can compromise on. And I know for some, compromise feels like failure,
Mm.
but I think that's what this whole experiment is about. I mean, this is sort of why the founders organized the government the way that they did, so that there would be a balance between small and large states, so that you would find places where sometimes you're in the majority, other times you're in the minority, to curb this desire to always see someone who may feel differently than you as your political enemy, because you understand that one day you might be in that seat. And so you certainly don't want to do anything or set poor precedents for how your political opponent, or at this point, your colleague, when you're in that chamber, um, might treat you later. So I think compromise is sort of the ideal, but we are certainly, I think, in a dark valley, and it might be deep and it might be long.